Fucking be ready to run, mate. Run.
Piss and Eagles. Where's the good cricket team? The great cricket team.
That's still my wife.
Black's laughing.
Shit, they're good.
This is easy.
Can he get you an Uber to the next one?
That is very good.
I think I speak for everyone when I say, when does the IPL start again? As we head deep into the off-season of T20 cricket, having just had 5 months of it, we lament the return of the purest expression of the sport and think about ways of jazzing it up a bit, perhaps with a different ball when it's dark. There's England and New Zealand, Australia and Pakistan, BBL privatisation, and a dash of 100 AI slop. Mitchell Santner is on the show to discuss Kiwi nightclub bouncers, two-faced coaches, and how to get away with chucking it. Phil Walker is on the show to tell us how the nation feels about this team and if or when the fans may start sharpening their knives and affixing bayonets. On the plus side, it may also be extremely fun. So here we go. Test cricket is back for now. The thing we actually like is back for now. And your favourite show is back for always. Sam Perry, thank fuck that's over.
Great to be back, he goes. Not for me, just to start on a note of disagreement. There's now a midnight to 4 a.m. shaped hole in my life where I consumed every single ball of the Indian Premier League. Sam, will you please get some sleep, says my wife. Babe, it's time for Virat and the kid, I would say. You got to sit. No, I agree. And yeah, look, the reason we weren't here is because, we were servicing our real bosses in India via NordVPN ads. Yeah. Make of that what you will. But it's good to be back. It's good to be back. Familiar sights and sounds. My cricket club, which has a alumni WhatsApp message group. Last week they went to Lee's Fortuna Court. Familiar.
That's great.
So there's nothing like a grueling season of IPL to be grateful for, like an English cricketing summer, legit. And to also see stories like Lou Vincent completing a 3-month stint at Ibiza Cricket Club.
Right.
His jaws over the other side of the pick. And then Mitch Marsh is saying, can I join?
Yeah.
But yeah, looking forward to 18 straight months of podcasting about bulk test cricket while simultaneously bemoaning the diminishment of test cricket. I'm looking forward to talking about the future of Australian cricket, which is two roads diverging in a wood, those roads being Sportsbet or India Cement, through the mechanism of the Big Bash tournament, which isn't to be confused with the Big Bosh tournament, which I saw yesterday, a charity event hosted by Johnny Fisher, a.k.a. the Bosh Father. So, CA, if you're out there, do not send the copyright lanyards his way. That is the Bosh Father. He cannot be fucked with.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying seeing headlines like Australia forced to cancel pre-Border Gavaskar series camp in the UAE due to ongoing Middle East war. The preparations have been thrown into disarray after Trump's Middle East conflict forced the abandonment of a planned UAE pre-tour camp. Now that no one wishes war or anything, but at least it's more familiar. We can wrap out. We can get our chops around this.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and what does that mean for Fergus O'Neill's idea of county v state, county v shield? And where the game is going to be played. Hey, Chuck's back, and he said that the Middle East is closed. But yes, it is as you rightfully say. It is a long stretch for TGC on this main podcast. The thing that most people enjoy, I suppose, where we complain about the things not being the way they used to be, whilst simultaneously having more of it than ever. So that is the way we go about it. We're a huge show this week, though. Mitchell Santner's on the show, and also Phil Walker is on the show. But England, New Zealand, Australia, Pakistan, BBL privatisation, AskTGC, all these things are coming right up. But I do want to shout out that the Hall of Fame for our Patreon for TGC Raw is dropping in 2 weeks' time. That is the best of the last 100 episodes, 1 hour every single Friday, dropping into your feed. So the best of that is going to come right the pig's way in a couple of weeks' time. 52 weeks a year. Get ahead. Well, I suppose we're in the UK somewhere right now, but it's patreon.com/Grey Cricketer, an extra hour of content every single week. And on top of that, you're going to get the Hall of Fame, which is about 3 hours of content dropping in a week's time.
Yeah, a couple of bells and whistles around this episode as well, got to say. No better time to subscribe. No better time to shout out that Patreon essentially provides a foundation for the Grey Cricketer. If you want to support us, keep this bad boy independent, keep being able to make jokes about Sportsbet and India Cement. The best way you can support that is is joining us on Patreon, and that's not a threat that we're about to take up a sports bet campaign or anything like that.
Oh, we might.
Yeah, that's right. India Cement, the door's open. Just after that letter last year, sponsors just don't seem to come through as much. But just Patreon's the best place to support us and keeping that bad boy independent.
Now, if you want to come and see us live, we will be in Darwin. If you are going to find yourself in Darwin or indeed live there, it's the night before the first test. That is August 12. It's part of the Darwin Festival. TGC live on stage. Tickets at greycricketer.com. They are available right now if you want to come and join us there. A couple of tests against Bangladesh for the Aussies this winter. Our time over there in August. So come and see us if you're going to be in Darwin or if indeed you live there. Tickets at greycricketer.com. England and New Zealand. The first test is at Lords starting on Thursday. You got the Oval in 2 weeks and then Trent Bridge on the heels of that one. 3-test series before Pakistan take on England after that a little bit later on in the English summer. But trying to figure out what this series is about because, so much of cricket these days is, well, I think it's probably always just been about the big three, especially in recent times, and then even more narrow than that, it's all about the Ashes. And yet I look at a New Zealand side that is full of quality. It's a great seam attack. And why does it feel insulting to be like, what will this mean for next summer? I'm looking at this series being like, this is going to be good.
Yeah, completely agree. Like England off the back of a tough Ashes series, and to put it mildly, they were hammered. Depending on what you read about it. They got unlucky according to some, like Australia was there for the taking. But some ceremonial sacrifices. We talked to Phil Walker about this. Zach Crawley's no longer with the squad. Ollie Robinson's back in. Yes. So clearly evidence of fitness and attitude change there. Great numbers, Ollie Robinson. Uh-huh. A couple other questions. Like it's really down to the English public want the England team to play a little bit more sensibly, with a little bit more care. And they are led by two extreme people who, one of whom is a pretty clear ideologue. And the question in the public is, can they change? And I don't think that should be a question. Like they won't change, and that's fine. And I think realistically, and again, we talked to Phil about this, but realistically, I think they probably have a game that should be enough to beat New Zealand and, as it stands, an ageing Australian team. They're hard to beat over there. They make flat decks. They know how to score at pace and discombobulate the bowlers, and they usually have enough with the ball by Stokes et al. To get the job done. So, they'll run into a Kiwi unit that, as you said, they've got a little bit of fire about them, especially if they play Kyle Jamieson, Willow Rourke together and Matt Henry. Mm-hmm. And they've got experience with the bat. Plenty of test centuries there as well. They've got Rachin Ravindra coming through. He's probably ready to fire. The Kiwis did this to India as well. We treat them like quiet little pawns on the chessboard, and they can do damage. So.
Yeah, it's when I look at New Zealand's likely side that I've written down, it's Tommy Latham, captain, obviously, with Devon Conway, Kane, Rachin Ravindra, Darryl Mitchell at 5, then maybe Blundell 6, Santner 7. That's probably those are the ones that are up in the air. Then Henry Jamieson and O'Rourke. They got Henry Nichols, Phillips, Smith, Blair Tickner, and Zach Folks as well in their squad. But when I think about like last series, India were under strength in their bowling. But the batting is no doubt about the quality of the batting. Obviously, Shubman Gill last English summer was amazing. There was a period of time, halfway through the series where he was looking at can he reach Bradman's numbers of 900-plus runs in a test series. Didn't get there eventually. But the point being that given the decks have been so flat in England the last couple of summers and seem to be getting flatter, and the way it's been going, the pitches have been getting better to bat on. Bumrah played 2 test matches last summer. Like the likes of Ashwin, for instance, not playing anymore. It felt like India's bowling was under, but the batting was strong. And I look at New Zealand's bowling, perhaps a little bit stronger than what India we thought were going to offer up. Though in the end it was it was sort of wickets from unlikely sources, I guess, given that Bumrah played in 2 games they didn't even win. But with that batting, with that middle order especially, Latham, Conway opening, then Kane, Rachin Ravindra, Darryl Mitchell. That's pretty bloody strong. And you're looking at the bowling attack where they're going to have Stokes, Atkinson, Robinson, Bashir, Tongue. That's certainly solid. But then the batting Ben Duckett, Emilio Gay looks like he's going to get a test cap. Bethel 3, Root 4, Brook 5, Smith 6, Stokes 7. You know, it's hard to get away from. We're looking at an absolute run fest here. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, New Zealand famously always overrated, probably the most overrated side in the history of cricket. And they actually overachieve. Sorry, they actually underachieve. But I'm looking at New Zealand being like, I can see something.
Are you
happening.
saying you're having a look at New Zealand?
I'm having a look at New Zealand.
Are you saying they're a watch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Though typically England, fantastic at home, very rarely lose series. They often drop a lot of games, but they often lose series, which has been the case in the last 25 years or so.
Wouldn't mind hearing from England fans on this question. Do you give a fuck about New Zealand? I think it's a fair question.
Is this a centre wicket for the Ashes?
Yeah. Is it a centre wicket? Yeah, that's exactly right. I just want to say on Stokes and McCullum as well, in case there's comments get kind of misconstrued. Like, I like that there's an alpha power play between captain and coach. You know, this notion has crept into cricket where there's got to be this beautiful duality, this beautiful axis between captain and coach, like we're in NBA Jam 93. You've just got your best duos going toe-to-toe. Most cricket clubs, most listeners to this show will understand that there's always an alpha cock-off going on in a cricket team, in a cricket club.
Yeah.
And I think it's no different here, and it should be embraced. This can be channeled, you know. This can be alchemized into something bigger, something better. It should be celebrated, to be honest. I don't think it's too big a problem. And plus, they've given all the interviews and they said they're back on the same page. Famously, when two personalities like that disagree, they do come back quite quickly. So I see no issue.
Yeah. It's like the manager being backed by the board. Full backing. Full backing.
Well, I saw the interviews. Everything looked above board. Play on. Now,
I think people are keen to hear from cricket coaches, typically speaking, more interviews from them. I think people are always excited to hear from the cricket coach. I think that has been the experience. And also, when the coach is continually talking about, you know, this week he's been talking about, you know, boxing smart. You know, it can't just be let's be better than the opposition more consistently over a period of time, as has been the case with cricket over the last 150 years. It has to be something more than that. You know, we have to look at more tactics. You know, knowing when to thrust and when to pull back.
yes.
And I think that's good.
I noticed that The Athletic published an article entitled "English Cricket's Complicated Relationship with Alcohol." As far as I could see, it's just blokes enjoy beers. And, you know, you play better when you don't get on the piss.
Shock me. Yeah.
But, you know, there's still this consternation about, like, the way McCullum likes to prepare his teams. And I think he has been hardly done by in the analysis. This is no sarcasm here. But, like, he has been very clear and consistent that they just like they believe in self-care and fun. You know, they believe in getting rid of the bullshit mundanity and like unnecessary rigor and like the boredom and discipline of cricket. You know, like think about the number of people who've enjoyed playing in McCullum's teams. They can't speak more highly of what it's like to play in that team. The removal of the pressures of the game. I mean, he's been very clear that he thinks that is the path to success, and he's stuck with it. Now they seem to be, you know, he seems to be having to say, okay, I guess I'll wind that back a little bit and please a bunch of people who want him to do things differently to how he's done them. I just think he should roll forward with what he does, see how they go on some pretty flat decks. So I'm actually more interested in what Fergus said about there needing to be a county cricket versus Shield champions fixture, preferably in Dubai. He also went on to say that Notts would win, not Nottinghamshire versus Victoria. Now, a couple of things. Can we move on to that unless there's other items from the England team, such as Rian Ahmed maybe playing? No, let's talk about this. Firstly, this is a wonderful piece of news for Interpol. Because anybody turning up to Dubai to watch Notts versus Victoria, I just think that's you call that a watch list situation.
Well, South Australia won, so they.
Oh shit!
So
well, I only say for because Ferg was talking about it. You know what I mean?
So, right. So he's playing.
Thank you.
Who would he play for? You know, that's the.
Well, I guess that's why he says Notts would win. But
also, is someone from the Ranji Trophy? Are they represented?
Well, I just thought it was very strange of Fergus to say this, and I think like in the same way that Australia is kind of watching to see how the 100 works with privatisation, why don't we just send like a first grade team there? You know what I mean? To play against Knots. What are you doing, Ferg? There. Anyway,
come on.
But at least he's coming up with solutions instead of just let's see if Sanjeev Goenka wants to take out equity in everything. So
No, I like what he said. I think there's not enough cricket played in Dubai. So I think that makes everyone happy, especially those two fan bases, County Cricket and Sheffield Shield in Dubai. Anyway, news this week also, the ICC said in a statement its executive board had approved the, quote, trialling the use of a pink ball in test matches with prior agreement from both teams to maximise play in case of anticipated bad lights. I know we're all just nothing worse than when bad light interrupts play. They come off the field, you feel shortchanged, especially if you're in the ground, you've paid, full freight, and you've been slugged at the same time for your day out at the cricket, your one day out, typically speaking, at cricket for the year, and you come off at 4 o'clock because it's cloudy. It's shit. And if you're at home, you're on the couch.
You come off because it's cloudy.
You come off because it's cloudy. Do you remember the cloudy apple juice, which is a delightful treat,
Thank you.
Especially mixed with vodka. Anyway, it's frustrating. You're on the couch, you got Dorito dust all over you, and you're thinking this is fucking bullshit. Just get on with it. What am I still going to watch? Highlights from the 90s? Okay, yes,
sure,
yes.
I will.
Is Mark Wahlberg batting? Okay, I'll have a look at it then. Ian Bell, yes, please, sir. But I'm not sure if I'm supporting the batting side, and it's let's say it's 2 for 200, and all of a sudden the pink ball comes out, and I'm skittled for somehow 70. Indoor cricket rules -5 runs every time you lose a wicket, somehow losing 130 runs in that scenario. But I'm not so sure that people are ultimately going to be happy with that. I think most people are going to be like, you know what, I'd actually prefer it if we didn't play, which is when cricket is good, when you don't play. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I feel like there's so much rapid quote unquote progress in the game, change to the game, its rules, etc. People who are Test cricket aficionados are actually pushing back and harder. Mm-hmm. People have had it. They're like, we can't have a pink ball for bad light just changing the complete complexion of the game. Why don't we stay off for longer? You know what I mean? Longer lunch breaks, etc. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. It's just I'm like it. Test cricket and red ball cricket is becoming so anachronistic in this most beautiful slow food way, even further and further. Yep. I don't even know what I think anymore. I have sympathy for the idea that when players are walking off the ground and you've been slugged for your ticket, etc., that someone goes like, you know what would be good? Using technology to stay on and play the game. And let's use a ball that people can see. All right, doesn't work quite as well. It's a little bit different. I can understand that's got a logic to it to me. It's like, why don't we continue to play the thing? Yeah. But I also have a lot of time for people going like, nah, it's not right. It's changing some fabric of the game. This game has to be weird. Yeah. It has to be wrong. It has to have its anachronisms. Mm-hmm. I'm sick of things being packaged up according to logic and capitalist principles, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I want it weirder, I want it harder, I want it less accessible. Give me something in my life like this. Everything else is fucking optimized.
Put a fucking roof on the stadium.
It's fucking play maxing, I can understand the pushback is what I'm saying.
I can also envisage a time when if you're the bowling side and things aren't going that well, and it's and one bit of cloud goes past the sun, you're thinking we just simply can't play in this. Yeah. We must bowl with a pink ball now.
Exactly.
I can see some more ball changes being proffered by the fielding side. Please, umpire, let's get off the field. Can we have the pink, please? Can we have the pink cake?
Exactly.
The pink pellet.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway.
I don't want to cock block the idea of people being able to watch more cricket.
Yeah,
I think that's good. But I can also foresee a few issues with changing the most important part of the sport.
Yeah,
for a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
so you're going to see a situation where batters are like, "Yeah, I'd like to." They're offered the light. Yeah, I'd like to go off for light. And then bowlers will be like, "Yeah, we agree," or maybe we just chuck the old pink cake. Yeah, okay. Yeah,
I've got a tennis ball with gaffer tape on it. So use that for a bit.
These administrators need to stop figuring out how to play more cricket. I mean, this is where they're going wrong.
The players have been telling us.
Everyone's been. If you've played the game, you understand that the key is not to play. Now that again, I understand that's a complicated idea, but it is true. If you understand the tenets of anxiety, etc., let's just let cricket be weird, keep its weird rules. Let's, if we have to watch highlights, preferably with DVD commentary from Steve Waugh, etc., of the 90s, then, so be it, right? If we have to throw to Rosehill Gardens for races, because it's just part of the highlights, so be it. Yeah. And if I place a hypothetical punt on Sub-Zero, the horse, so be it. It's just one man's view.
Should we speak to Mitchell Santner and get his thoughts ahead of the Test match, and then after him, Wisden's Phil Walker?
We should.
Okay, but first, this.
Okay, what a privilege today. This man has played 294 games across 3 formats for his country. He's taken 353 wickets for them, 2 Test fifers, 2 ODI fifers. He's got a Test match 10-fer. He's got a Test ton, nearly 4,000 runs across 3 formats. He's the regular white ball captain for the Kiwis and was last year made the 41st Test captain for New Zealand. He's in bulk demand across the major cricket, that is, big franchise tournaments. He's turned out for the big IPL fish, CSK and MI. He's in the UK for a huge Test series against England, and he low-key has some of the best pipes and shoulders, if rehabilitated, in international cricket. So great to have Mitch Santner on The Grade Cricketer. Mitch, welcome.
Hell of an intro, fellas. Thanks, boys.
And the baritone too. What happens when you and Andrew McDonald talk? Do you have to put headphones on or something?
The competition, really, man.
Now, Mitch,
Snakes are coming out of the grounds like Barry White in The Simpsons.
No. Let's talk Turkey. You're coming back from a shoulder, sustained in the IPL. Initial thoughts, you might be right for the 2nd or 3rd Test, but you're with the squad now. You're there in London. Are you playing on Thursday? Are you allowed to say if you're playing on Thursday? And if you can't say whether you're playing on Thursday or not, are you available?
Yeah, available for selection. I think that's the easiest one thing to say. It's been a bit of a heat wave, but now it's back to usual, kind of 18, 19, pretty cold here, so not conducive to much spin in those conditions. Had a little stint at the IPL. It was cut short. I think my first game, and I did my right shoulder, and then thought just I'd even it out and do my left a couple games later, and did a pretty good job, and then went home. So had 4 weeks ago. It was quite nice.
I want to talk about something that binds these two nations together, England and New Zealand, and I want to know what the bouncers are like in New Zealand. Are they affable, typically speaking?
Like nightclub bouncers, or
nightclub bouncers. Yeah.
Pretty big units most of the time. Can text Brookie and ask him if you want, but. Hit and miss sometimes. Sometimes you just get a bad read or a bad bouncer, and it's kind of ruins the night. So I think that's just what Brookie had.
Yeah.
Look, let's face it, Mitch. People are expecting New Zealand to form the convenient, quiet opposition to England's return to form and stability after a heavy bruising Ashes. Just as they did when you toured India in 2024 and you won 3-0. How helpful is Big Three ignorance, and how important is it that we put more respect on New Zealand's name?
We don't mind today. We just kind of roll in and see what happens. It's obviously you guys put England on the back foot after the Ashes, so it was a great series to watch, just to be a neutral kind of Test cricket watcher, it's obviously put England under a little bit of pump, bit of strife, but we know they're a great side, obviously at home. Lords first up, it's going to be pretty cool. So I think we'll just roll in, see what happens, and we try to be the nice guys. If it doesn't work, we might try to flip the switch a little bit and maybe go the other way. Go do like the Aussie way or something.
The Anzac Brethren, I like it. Brendan McCullum, Jeet Patel, Tim Southey all coached England in recent times. Are these guys, would you describe them as two-faced traitors or just nice guys who have nice jobs?
Somewhere in the middle, I reckon. If they beat us, yeah, two-faced, annoying.
Yeah.
If we beat them, just nice guys, just unlucky on the day kind of stuff. But, I mean, it was cool to see. We played with Baz, Jeets and Tim a lot to see them kind of going out there and doing some coaching elsewhere. It's pretty cool. Obviously, the money's a little bit better elsewhere than New Zealand, so fair play.
Just going back to that thing you said before about like flipping the script or flicking the switch on becoming fuckwits. Like, who's leading the charge there? Like, because the conception, I don't want to like lean on stereotypes of Kiwis, but if I did, I would say just dry, funny, but yeah, like economic with words and stuff as well. But these are cricketers, you guys spend a lot of time together. Cricket's a brutal game. It breeds selfishness. It breeds bad people a lot of the time. At least that's our experience at club level. Who's leading the charge if New Zealand have to flip the script?
I think someone's going to have to put their hand up. Might have to be me, I think. I think kind of nasty fasty is always pretty good for a spray. I mean, recently we saw Jamison spray the 12-year-old who was getting all the runs at the IPL. But yeah, I think kind of it's usually the case probably in club cricket as well, isn't it? Well, club cricket's like first class cricket in New Zealand, isn't it? Apparently, that's what I've heard. But yeah, I mean, you always whack a couple of fasties away, they get pretty angry. So I'd like it to come from someone you'd probably least expect. That'll really put a spanner in the. Maybe a Tommy Lath from the skipper. Someone like that, or I don't know. I could do it, but I might be on the side unless it starts spinning. So can't really spray everyone from running the drinks on. It's not a great look. Or I really expect it coming flying through with a Powerade and giving a little spray on the way Stokes as he's batting or something. But,
That'd be good.
I would say, Mitch, particularly. Well, I just hear this particularly from England's quarters, but there's been a lot of criticism about the World Test Championship setup. Who plays what, like how many games, it seems unfair, whatever. I mean, New Zealand are actually currently in the top two. And, if you guys have favourable results away in England and then away in Australia later in our summer, I presume you guys will be happy to give up your spot because it's not fair. I mean, how do you guys see the structure with the World Test Championship? Do you see England's point, or do you think that's kind of, Big Three bias if Big Three still exists?
Yeah, I guess no one really wants to watch kind of New Zealand, Bangladesh in terms of revenue. So the Big Three usually get more games. But yeah, I mean, it kind of worked out for us in that first cycle. We just kind of did what we had to do and watched England and Aussie play 40 tests in the summer, and we're kind of deducted points and stuff. So I mean, I think we're second at the moment. We've played 2 tests. England have played 10 already or something. Yeah, I mean, ideally everyone would play, the same amount of tests, but we know, like, the schedules, cricket boards, it's always going to be a hard thing to do, and money talks at the end of the day, doesn't it?
People are anxious, Mitch, in England, as far as I can tell, about the style that England will play with. There's been Bazball with brains, there's been Bazball 2.0. What style are you expecting from England in this series? Like, are we just looking at flat decks, fast innings, like similar style from them, but try not to make as many mistakes or something like that?
Yeah, I'm kind of intrigued as well, but I think, you look around, we got Lords first up, kind of does a little bit. Oval can go through. Trent Bridge is a bit, can be flat. So I think guys, obviously you want guys to go out there with the freedom and play their kind of way. Like Ducky will play his shots, Rudy does his thing, Stokesy will knuckle down if he needs to. So I think it's, I guess Baz's way is, you want guys to have freedom and go out there and express themselves. Whatever that looks like, conditions will obviously, suit that, or you have to kind of adjust to that. So I think it's, there's obviously periods in Test cricket where you have to kind of see through a tough spell, or and then there might be the time to flip it around and counter attack. So I think there's going to be a bit of that throughout all three games, and I don't think there's a one way to play, but I guess we'll wait and see how England shape up.
It's funny, isn't it, mate? Because this is almost like the full cycle of baseball, because I feel like New Zealand were kind of the guinea pigs in like 2022 when you guys were over there, and it was the beginning of like Baz's era as coach. No one had really seen this style before. No one really knew what to expect. I think England chased down between 270 and 300 in 3 Test matches in all 3 of those games. I mean, you guys were great. New Zealand were great during that series, and then just Bairstow scored a heap of runs, and I feel like, have you guys? I feel like the world's kind of figured it out a little bit. There's been tactics. There's been a lot of discussions and team meetings, you can tell, about how to counter this. Like just you referencing Australia. Like a deep point before the first ball is bowled. Just that kind of stuff, just to stem the boundaries of the way that England want to play. I mean, do you guys feel like you're in a better position to counter whatever this version of England is than perhaps it might have been 4-ish years ago?
Yeah, I think looking back at that series, like you said, it was the scoreline was kind of 3-0, but it was close. Like, they played well to chase down some scores, and I think you're right now. I think in Test cricket, run rates and kind of pace of play is definitely faster. So I think it's almost a deep point out to start. You're not just you're saving boundaries. You've still got catches. I think that is kind of the way forward anyway. Ring fields and that kind of stuff's kind of gone. So you kind of want guys to still play their shots, but if they do make a mistake, there's a guy catching. And we've seen it in England. You've seen it in India when you go play there. You kind of want the field up so you can slog some spin, but they've got 4 guys out and 3 guys catching. It makes it pretty tough. So I think it's going to be a bit more of that. It's kind of turning into more that kind of one-day cricket style of just kind of putting it in a good area for a long time with sweepers and going at 2s, 3s and making a mistake rather than going field up, 4 dots, 2 boundaries kind of thing. So we see it all over the subcontinent. It's nice when my first tour there, they had the field up and you could just kind of try to slog it over the top and get away with the odd chunk, but those days are gone, unfortunately.
You did allude to conditions possibly not being that conducive to spin, Mitch. I wanted to ask you about the state of spin bowling around the world. I feel like more and more people are starting to become concerned about the diminishing role of spin bowlers, particularly in red ball cricket, across the board. I mean, again, big 3 bias, but like Australia's gone with 4 quicks plenty of times. They do it they say they do it begrudgingly, but they have. England have played part-timers, at different times as well. Do you share concerns about the declining trend of like spin, if you even believe that to be the case, like at the top level?
Yeah, I don't think the GOAT would ever get dropped for a game, Nathan Lyon, but if he's getting dropped, we're all getting dropped, aren't we? New Zealand, home summer, they're green, you kind of just, you play your, wouldn't say part-timer, but you're definitely not playing a spinner. And I think, I guess as a spinner growing up in New Zealand, you have to try find ways of, doing a job in those conditions. And then, if you do get a chance to, go overseas and have go to India or something, then you're kind of expected to take wickets, and that can be a bit of a challenge at times because you're going, all right, now give me 10 for, and you're like, well, I haven't bowled in spinning conditions a whole lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's still, there should still be a bit of, an option for spin. I know India, when they came to England last year, they played Washi and, Jadeja. So I think there's still a place for spin. I think you just have to kind of, the roles might change depending on where you are. In New Zealand, it's kind of a holding role, so you can kind of do a job into the wind and let your big boys go downwind and take all the poles. So I think, and then if it does, you kind of flip. You get to day 4 or day 5, it might start to spin, which is always a good thing. But I think with a juke ball, it's kind of always does a bit for the seamers. Cookies, if they get flat, then you throw it to the spinner and say, "Give me a wicket," and you go, "Thanks, mate. It's 75 overs old here." But I think even like IPL and stuff, we started seeing less spin being bowled. I think if you throw a little bit of mystery, you always get a gig, but that just means that it doesn't spin, anyway. Might have to just throw out the old carom ball and then become a mystery bowler and good stocks.
Well, I want to ask you a technical question, Mitch, because you're rightfully praised with having this skill where you don't change your action, and one ball can be 90 k's an hour, the next ball can be 72. And how fucking big are your fingers, or are you just chucking it? How do you do this? How do you bowl with the same action? And even on TV, okay, I've had a couple of drinks, but I can't even tell, and I could pick them like the best of them. Don't worry about that. But you can't tell the difference between any action, there's no decipherable difference in your action. Yet you change your pace. How are you doing that? Tell us your secrets.
I'm wearing a long sleeve jersey. Yeah, that kind of hides it. I kind of go for the medium bit around the chest because not that big, and then it's down on the sleeve, so it gives you a bit of. Also, big fingers. Yeah, I've also got this pretty rogue front arm thing that no one else does, but it actually I used to get sprayed about all the time. You got to get your front arm up, and but no, I think it actually. Because there's a bit of a delay in my action, I can kind of see what guys are trying to do, whether they want to charge, a little bit. So that kind of gives me a little, So having a bit of a rogue action's actually helped me out a little bit.
Yeah.
Hardcore fans of TGC will know that Higgins is particularly interested in this because he played club cricket against Suck Lane and could pick his doosra online. That's what he said. So. Yeah.
It's just bad bowling. You've got to vary the line, so you can't just pick it online.
No, just get the broom out. Just get the broom out, Mitch. Don't worry about that.
Sweep
So, as we record, it's the night after the IPL final. You've won two. You've won 2 IPLs. Virat won his first one and said that Test is best. Aussies right now, Mitch. I mean, firstly, we're watching rugby league and AFL, but when we do think about the cricket, there's this big privatisation chat, and what other foreign franchises or ownership might be able to come into the game, and how much should T20 cricket drive our interest in the game. They're looking for clues from players about their feelings and allegiances, I suppose. I mean, you've done it all. You're 3 format, you captain all 3 formats. You play franchise cricket with the big boys. You don't even play in New Zealand or Australia. Showing how big those tournaments are. But How should fans understand what's in front of players right now in terms of those choices? How does it feel being with the New Zealand side right now to play Test cricket, being a guy that can play with the big boys in the IPL, etc.?
Yeah, I think there's like the Aussie boys say, I think there's a separate or a different kind of buzz around Test cricket. It's always a special thing. I don't know, it's the time away with the boys, it's, the toil, it's, you're digging in for time. I think with the schedules at the moment, there's just, there's almost too much cricket, or, you see these kind of bilateral series that are getting, your teams, New Zealand do it, Aussie are obviously doing it at the moment, Pakistan, you're kind of throwing, your deeper squads and, different kind of squads out there. We did it, when the IPL was on, we had a Bangladesh tour that, showed, obviously, we had maybe 6 or 7 guys at the IPL, another kind of 6 or 7 at the PSL. So we were kind of, our kind of C team was getting thrown out there. So I think if you guys, I think now people are going to have to make a, players' decision of your kind of major events or kind of major series. Test cricket. India comes to New Zealand in October. That's obviously a pinnacle event for us. And then trying to find time where you can, do some franchise in between, but also not being too cooked. I tried to do everything last year. Was away for majority of the year. Came back with a couple of hernias, which left me out for I think the Aussie T20s in New Zealand. So yeah, that was probably went a bit far. But tried to chase some cash, tried to play some cricket as well. It was just too much. I think guys are having to pick and choose a bit more, or making some smarter decisions. Test cricket's still up there for. I think the way we structure our contracts, it's still number one. Players agree it's still number one. And then you've got big series stuff in between, so it's a challenge. And I think a lot of T20 cricket, there's leagues every week. You can go from one to the other if you want, but then trying to do everything as well, play all three formats it's a challenge.
Just on the IPL, Mitch. Fans, owners, coaches, even they've all been really focusing on when players in the IPL are injured, particularly the overseas players. There's been a lot of vocal criticism from certain quarters questioning overseas players' commitment. There's actually a headline about you 16 hours ago in the Times of India saying the headline is, MI player who left IPL due to injury joins national team squad set to play against England. I mean, that is intimating that you are faking injury to leave the IPL to go and play for New Zealand. So first of all, why'd you do that? And second, how does it make you feel when you hear that?
Well, they gave me half my cash, so that actually hurt a little bit. Only getting there for half the
Well, they just got a new headline tomorrow morning.
But it was, so I got there, missed the first game, birth of my second child, got there, straight off the plane, played Delhi, did my right shoulder, out for a kind of week. Came back a couple of games later and did my left and then went home. So I did two shoulders in the space of kind of 2 weeks. So I thought I was putting my body on the line for them, but obviously not. And then it kind of was supposed to be an 8-week injury. Turned it around in about 4, just Lazarus kind of stuff, and now I'm getting sprayed in the media.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you've just arrived in England a couple of days ago. I presume you're on the same flight as Baz?
Didn't see him. I was at the back. He might have been at the front.
Fuck, that's funny. There's so much talk about the money that players can make from T20 tournaments, as you've just said there, whether it's half your cash or all the cash or when the bills get paid. But and I don't know. Like, I imagine that money that's on offer could often dwarf the money available in a central contract, international central contract in a lot of countries, right? Like, could you explain how you think about the value of a central contract playing for New Zealand beyond just the figure itself?
Well, I think going back to the cash, 50% of fuck all is still fuck all. If I was Cam Green, I probably would have tried to hang on and bowl round arm with a cooked shoulder, But I think again, the money's never going to be, in New Zealand. Like your big three we keep talking about, Aussie, England. So I think it's more playing for New Zealand. That's the kicker. Everyone who takes a central obviously very wants to play as much as they can for New Zealand. Even guys taking casual contracts now still want to be available for World Cups, major events. So I think for us it's taking a central, playing for New Zealand as much as you can, and then still trying to do the franchise stuff when it suits. We've always kind of blocked out that kind of IPL window for being able to play. Last couple of years they've thrown the odd series in there, but that one's usually free for us. And then it's just seeing what the calendar looks like, trying to do some more stuff. So I think, you got to be a little bit smart, being fresh, being available for New Zealand, still trying to do the odd thing here and there, and also being, able to do some conditioning every now and then. But I'm a big fan of just keep playing so you don't have to do those conditioning blocks. Don't tell the trainer. Didn't really work out for me that well last year.
Just on that, because again, I think a lot of Aussies are trying to understand how players see domestic tournaments and stuff like that. You've just spoken there about, just a priority of wanting to play for your country, of wanting to play for New Zealand. I think a lot of people will be really heartened to hear that. What sort of obligations do you feel to play in your domestic tournament? Because right now, when we're talking about, whether BBL opens up to IPL franchises or others, like there's people making the argument that like if we don't bring this money in, players are going to go play in another tournament, while an Australian tournament's on. Like, I know it's different for New Zealand. There's an NZ20 coming up or whatever, but like, do the players talk about wanting to like give to New Zealand cricket, or is it a slightly different calculation you're making?
Yeah, I think that's everyone's kind of excited for this NZ20 because it means we're giving back to, we're still playing in New Zealand, giving back to it's very good for the domestic game, giving guys an opportunity to, play with some overseas players who turn up. Obviously, financially, it's beneficial. I think the hardest part is we always enjoy playing the Super Smash, but we've always got international cricket on at the same time. So I think, Big Bash is a little bit similar. Aussie, it's home summer. There will be some Australian cricket on at the time. So I think if you're going to prioritise a domestic comp, it's you kind of want there to be no international cricket, so all your big boys can go play NZ20, the Big Bash, and then that's kind of peak Australian summer. So then you're trying to fit in international cricket around that. For us, it means we have to play more in kind of October, November, where it rains every day. So that's kind of what you don't want to do either. So, and then guys are seeing some potentially more money, in SA and stuff like that. So I think if you can kind of find a window where no international cricket, you can put all your big guns are playing Big Bash. The comp's really good. It's a very good product, and that kind of will go a long way as well. So I think, but then if you're going to try to find a window for that, every tournament, it's going to be a challenge with the amount of international cricket that's on at the moment.
I'd love to know, Mitch, what's the thing that gives you the biggest rush in cricket? I mean, you're so lucky that you've had all of these experiences. You've played in 3 World Cup finals, including the one a couple of months ago. Is it test matches at Lords, which, you might get a crack at? Is it being out in the middle with MS Dhoni? Is it bowling to Virat? Is it meeting the Ambanis? Is it like what is it that like gets you going the most in cricket?
Ambani's one. They watching?
Yep.
They are now. I think that's. I think there's still a thrill. For playing for your country. I mean, leading, being captain now is really, it's been awesome. It's a privilege, obviously, to lead your country. So I think for me, it's doing that as well as I can, and trying to take a group, to a place where we want to go as a unit, as a country, as a team. So, and I think my kind of first years, you want to experience, different tournaments. You want to, play against the best or challenge yourself against the best. So whether that's playing a test at Lords for your country, that's up there. Your first time in the IPL, it's something new, it's something different. So I think for now that like you said, I've played kind of a bit of everything. I think so. For now, it's it's definitely playing for New Zealand, big series, World Cups, Test cricket. Being captain, I feel obliged and I want to play every white ball game I can. So that's we go to West Indies after this. It's going to be another great tour. Obviously leading into ODI World Cup next year.
Yeah,
next year.
Next
so
year.
Stuff like that. So I think now that I'm getting older and close to retiring somewhat, it's you look at these kind of pinnacle events and things that you want to make sure you're there for and excited about.
Just last one from me, Mitch. It is one of the greatest achievements by any team, probably this century, but winning 3-0 in India. You played the second test and you took 13 wickets and then you were dropped for the second test. Perhaps injured, perhaps just not selected. But can you... yeah. Should have taken down Hadley, should have got the 15th. It's amazing. Can you take us through like what it was like being part of that group before that series, your reflections on 13 wickets in a test match, and when the final wicket was taken in the third test, Well, I think you defended like 100 and you bowled them out for 120 or something in the final dig or whatever it was. But can you take us through the emotions of that series? Because it's incredible.
Yeah, I think like leading in, I was kind of, floating in and out of Test cricket. The role was very dependent on where you are. In New Zealand, you kind of just sit there and run a few raids out. We went to Sri Lanka. Thought I bowled alright, just didn't get any rewards. So yeah, a couple of nunfers or maybe a one for or something like that, and a little bit under the pump by some media guys and some guys talking about it. So we went to India. Bangalore was we were potentially going to play the extra seamer anyway, so I kind of sat out and it was a bit overcast, and that played out outstandingly well. We went to Pune knowing that they've given us a bit of a green seamer like we're used to, so we're going to get a bit of a dust bowl and a slow one, and that's what we got. So I guess it was kind of spinner's job to kind of turn up, and back from the wilderness, I kind of came in and threw a couple out there and got a couple to spin, which was nice, and then tore my side as I was doing that, because there was a huge spike in my loads going from kind of 4 overs into T20 to about 50 odd in the game. The rig wasn't used to it, so yeah, tore the side going to the third game and watched that one spin even more than Pune, so I was pretty dark about that. But yeah, to see, we went all through it. We had the first game, Bangalore, different conditions. Pune, we got kind of, the batters played the spin unbelievably well. We obviously bowled it right as well. And then third one was just a real grind, real spinny one at Mumbai. Didn't see any of those at the IPL, which was a shame. And it was just a bit of a slug out, and it was, I think those are the reasons why you play Test cricket. Something like that as a group, you kind of go to achieve something special, and you set out just trying to throw some punches at India, and it kind of turned out that we end up winning 3-0, and that was I think everyone still kind of will remember that and talk about that for years.
So, Miss, just clarifying there, your reflections on taking 13 wickets were that you got a couple to spin and that you did your side.
Couple of horns,
mate,
as well.
Thanks.
That was about it.
Couple of horns. Mate, hope you get a gig on Thursday. Judging by your eyes, it looked like you do have a gig. So we'll take that as read. That's exclusive TGC. No, he's shaking his head now.
Used to that.
And what's the batting order?
We're gonna go.
But no, thanks so much for joining us, mate. It's a total huge privilege to have a Kiwi captain on, and wishing you all the best for the series and everything beyond that as well.
No, good boys. Last time I got tagged in something from you guys, you called me a fuckwit, so I was just.
Higgins brought that up today.
Yeah, and you said never a true word spoken, so
Yeah, spot on. I was like, how do you guys know? Shit. Now I've just
because
aimed it. This guy's just a genuine fuckwit.
Well, we're just trying to figure out how you can be so good at cricket and also such a nice guy. It just doesn't make any sense. You can't be a 10 out of 10. It doesn't make any sense. Skeletons in the closet, Mitch.
Got plenty, eh? Got plenty. Roll a bright face over them out there. Get back to my room. I'm just a nice guy, mate. Just get back through.
That's great. All right, let's wrap it up. Mitch Santner, thanks so much.
All right, boys.
He's a friend of the show. He's a man of words and letters. He's been on the show before. We welcome him back to talk England. He's the editor-in-chief of Wisden Cricket Monthly, Phil Walker. How are you, Phil?
I'm all right, thank you, Samuel. It's Monday morning here. We've had a bit of a heat wave in England, but now, of course, it's starting to cloud over. Why? Because it's Test match week. Thunder and lightning on the way this week for the first Lord's Test match, standard stuff. No, I'm feeling all right, thank you.
Let's talk about this Test match. I think personally, I prefer more T20, but if we have to deal with this, then so be it. But look, here's my view. or I'll put it in a question though, but like there's a temptation to heap theatrical pressure on England, especially to change after a large and bruising Ashes defeat. But like on the other hand, if England just stays calm, they probably have a core of players and specific game style to not only beat New Zealand this summer, but probably do enough to get the Ashes back next summer as well against an aging Swiss cheese style Australian team. Now, if you accept that, and you may not, do the ends, i.e. getting the Ashes, justify the means, i.e. retaining the inherent extremities of McCullum and Stokes and pretending they're going to be anything different than what they are?
If the ends are winning next English summer against Australia, then that justifies everything. But that remains the $1 million question. This particular year is a kind of like a year of drift, like a summer of. It's going to be an empty summer. The intrigue comes from whether England can balls it up this summer, and they don't tend to at home. They've lost 2 series at home in the last 20 odd years or so. So they don't tend to lose series at home. And, notoriously, Australia haven't beaten them in England since 2001. So that next year becomes huge on any number of levels. But this year for England is a trickier one because you have New Zealand, who always turn up and we have a lovely time with New Zealand, and it's inconsequential and it's like this kind of summer fling. And we both know that it doesn't mean that much to either of us, but we have a lovely time when we see each other. And then Pakistan turn up, and obviously Pakistan are in all kinds at the moment. Lost 4 games in a row against Bangladesh. So the trend you would assume would be that England would continue to be tricky to beat at home. The New Zealand series in particular is interesting because New Zealand have a really good pace attack, and England have that tendency to fall over at Lords from time to time, and that's where the first Test match is. But you assume that this summer will fall to England just about, and then there's just a suspension of clarity, if you like. Everybody, the whole thing is on a knife edge, and people want to know how it's going to fall, right? And the natives are restive after what happened in your summer, and there's agitation in the air because the scars of the winter have just not begun to heal at all, and it's hard to see how they do heal until we know for sure if the whole Bazballian Stokesian epic is one big con job, or if it actually has an overriding plan that can ultimately bear fruit next year. And so at the moment, people want blood, or they at least want clarity, but they're not going to get it, I don't think, this summer. So it all builds to next year. And I know we're not meant to talk too far down the line because it's disrespectful to Test cricket and all the rest of it. But let's not kid ourselves. It all funnels towards next year, just as it all funneled towards your last summer. It's a referendum every 2 years on your cricket and our cricket, and that's just how it is. And that's not to denigrate the stuff that goes in the gaps, but it's all about next year. And we can't know yet if McCullum and Stokes are going to get this chance to, waltz off into the sunset, having had the last laugh. We don't know. There's a large chunk of people, certainly a section of people in this country who want to see them fall this summer because it will validate their view of the team. They want to see them collapse. They want to see it implode in on itself, because then it will validate how they felt about the England side in the Ashes, and it will validate how they sense this team is. And so there's quite a few people lining up, ready, ready with the pot shots, and only a defeat will truly exercise them.
Well, do you think that's right? Like, because Phil, if New Zealand win, Pakistan won't. But
yeah,
if New Zealand did, do you think there's enough pressure on the current axis? Because, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because like 4 years ago when it was New Zealand and South Africa, out in the UK playing those test matches. It was great fun. I mean, there is no way around it. It was, everyone was coming out of COVID. You think about Joe Root's tenure as captain, and it was Johnny Bairstow chasing 300 in the fourth innings, and no one had ever seen this before. And it was objectively good. It was fun, and now it's not fun. But I wonder if there's actual pressure, or if this leadership axis just has so much power that they'll decide if it's fun or not.
It seems like a long time ago. I remember us three chatted around 2022, wasn't it? When, as you say, Bairstow was strumming quick hundreds in the final session, and England were chasing down mad totals almost routinely at that point. And we all drank the Kool-Aid. Even you two did a little bit. And I remember we dared to have an earnest conversation about what it meant for Test cricket, and what this, like an epoch moment for the game, and how teams will now start to ape it, and the game's never been more watchable, and England are pushing the line and doing it with a smile and trying to do good things for the game at large and all the rest of it. And all that sounded great back then. But now when you use these kinds of terms, there's a hollowness to it. And why? Because we went and stunk the place out in Australia. And I know it's simplistic to say that, but that is the truth. And everything was hinging on what happened in November and December in your place. Everything hinged on it. And now, when you dare to say these highfalutin terms about playing a new brand of the game and pushing the line and going at 4.5 and over and all the rest of it, opening the game up, no draws, all thrills, all killer, no filler. When you start saying this stuff now, people just say, you got dicked, you got smashed. You got schooled by grown-ups, and you're fools. You're kind of you're students. You're dreaming of this great idealized way of playing the game that doesn't apply, doesn't work. And that was the narrative going into the Ashes, and that was the narrative that played out in the Ashes. And so it's a knife edge, and people are uneasy with this team. And and if they do lose to New Zealand, if they go down 2-1, say, then I think McCullum's position in particular is not quite untenable, but not far off. And I think the amount of support that he will have among the rank and file, of the hacks, and therefore by extension, the public at large, who are all, of course, because they're cricket public, they're ready to go. They're ready to tear into their own team, because that's what we do. I think there'll be very little rope left for him if New Zealand win. So there's a lot at stake for him. I think Stokes is slightly different, perhaps, because Stokes occupies a unique position in English cricket. He is the one in English cricket, and there's been a slowish narrative suggesting that Stokes got the message earlier than McCullum might have done. That Stokes has started to realise that you can't just play this one way, this one-tracked way, and that McCullum was perhaps more of an ideologue, if you like. So I think there's more credit for Stokes, and there's more affection for Stokes as well, of course, because of what he's done on the field for England. But it is very, very delicate at the moment. And as I say, there's a large chunk of people that want to see them go down, because it will clarify it all for them, and then they'll be able to say it was bollocks all along.
Phil, to what extent do you think a decision to retain McCullum and Stokes and this axis and this brand and style of play, I can't remember a team or a country so fixated on philosophy. It's like football has permeated it. I mean, most Test cricket teams hit the top of off, bowl a bumper to mix up the footwork, value relentlessness and ruthlessness. This is a higher plane that people are operating on. But like, to what extent will that be trusted? To what extent will it be trusted because the Aussie team firstly looked very vulnerable against it towards the back end of last Ashes, and have shown no real signs of evolving themselves. Realistically, they're a team that are long in the tooth. They trust their players. They trust experience, but there have been signs that they too are are on the decline, they will probably be hanging on, trying to do it for legacy. You know, how much does that actually assist McCullum and Stokes's designs on the leadership? Just this idea that England figured Australia out last Ashes series, and there's no real signs that anything other than that would happen this time around.
Can I ask you, Sam and Ian, what was your reading of how England went about it? Now the dust has settled, right? Now we're not shouting any odds, and we can talk about this soberly. What was your impression of how England went in that series from the point of view of their approach, the fundamentals of their theory that obviously drives so much of what they do?
In 23?
No, sorry, just gone.
Oh,
right. Okay.
You know what I think? No.
Fine.
Honestly, what?
There's no kind of. You don't allow for any space for them.
Look, I think that 4-1 was a worthy result. Right. I think that that the valuing of like relentlessness and ruthlessness and the ability to repeat skills is something that appears to be missing, in English cricket. And I even still see in media outlets an attempt to argue that Australia wasn't particularly good, and that if only England had got its preparation right or whatnot, it might have been a better shout, particularly against an injured Australian team. But I observed England's approach to be exactly what, very faithful to McCullum's blueprint for several years that had been lauded, as in, and he's doing it now, turning up a couple of days before the series starts, which is, we prioritise being relaxed, we prioritise having fun, we prioritise perspective, we prioritise having a beer. We think that is the best path to success. We don't kill ourselves in the nets. We don't kill ourselves in meaningless practice games. I just didn't think I was surprised that people were surprised by all of this sort of stuff, and the Noosa stuff as well. I mean, it's completely in keeping with how they have conducted themselves, and they believe in it. And I think they've been praised for it for several years. I thought it was surprising that people tore strips off them in this situation. I think they've been very consistent, the England team. I just don't think that style of play was going to work in Australia. And I think the result. I think the end result was pretty accurate.
So there's certainly been the word that McCullum keeps using is refinement. Okay, and he gave a series of interviews last week, and they were kind of like sealed interviews. There was one with the ECB, which is now the nature of the thing, but he did do some interviews with the press, and I was there on Friday last week for a series of interviews, and he kept using this phrase: "We've got to trust our jab. Got to trust our jab, right? Can't keep throwing haymakers. Can't keep trying to knock them out. Got to trust our jab." And Stokes started saying this, of course, across the winter. Stokes, I thought, was very astute actually after the Brisbane game, and definitely the penny had dropped for him. And I think there is more that binds the two of them together than separates them, but there's certainly been some shifting in attitude, I think, and understanding of their philosophy in the last few months. For sure, there is. In amongst it all, because it's so stark when you lose to Australia like that, all of the good things and all of the positive things that did no doubt throw up remarkable results. You went to Pakistan. Now, perhaps on reflection, that's not that big a deal these days, but you went to Pakistan and won 3-0. England never win in Pakistan. Admittedly, then they lost 2-1, managed to balls that one up, but they went to New Zealand and won the series. England don't really do that either, and they won a lot of test matches at home, as we know. The 2023 Ashes remains the great mystery, really, the enigma of the whole Stokes-McCullum era, because 2-2 could have been 3-2, but also they could have been 3-0 down, if Mark Wood and Chris Wokes hadn't got it done at Headingley. So it's the classic ifs and buts series, and it rained for 2 days at Old Trafford, but whatever. The result remains the same. And in the end, all of the nuances of all of this, it gets lost, and you just get given the score. And we couldn't beat Australia at home, and we stunk the place out when we went out there. And they remain the monuments to this very interesting, audacious, and often quite thrilling reinterpretation of how to play Test cricket. If they can find a third way, if you like, then Australia will be coming to England next year, concerned that mad record that no one would have ever imagined of not being able to win over here for a quarter of a century. It will probably carry on because England did have their number in 2023. And if they can just adjust it slightly ahead of next summer, if they can refine it a little bit this summer and pick one or two players whose chances are probably overdue. They brought back Ollie Robinson, which is an interesting development. That's a whole psychodrama in itself. Then yeah, I still think there is a way that this idea has its final validation. I still have a lot of look. I've had more fun covering English Test cricket in the last 3 years than I have had in 20 years, right? So, and that can't be underestimated in an era where a lot of blokes, they don't want to play the thing anymore. They certainly would rather go and do something else. And people have paid a lot of money not to play Test cricket. So there is virtue and value in it, in and of itself. But if it blows up in their face, again, in the Ashes, then it's only seen as hubristic. It's only seen as full of your own steam. And that narrative took root in Australia, and that's what they're fighting for. They're fighting for the future, really, of this whole idea. It will either be laughed out of town or it will be seen as ultimately a brilliant thing for the game. And that's what's at stake. It remains so.
What does Ollie Robinson's return to the side say to you?
So he played, as you'll remember, in 2023. He played two and a bit Test matches. He actually started the Leeds game, and then he pulled out with a back spasm. And that seemed to sort of summarise his attitude to fitness, rightly or wrongly, but it got boiled down to that. Pivotal Test match in the series, and he couldn't get through the first hour or two. Now, cricketers get back spasms; they get injured. That's occupational hazard. But it seemed to feed into this idea that he had, if you like, say, a liberal attitude to fitness, and that would manifest obviously in the second and third spells that he would bowl that would be down on pace. What did Hayden say? Nude nuts. He's bowling 70 mile an hour nude nuts. He has his own vocabulary, does the great man. But yeah, so at some point down the line, England had a bowler who was ranked number 5 in the world with an average lower than Anderson, lower than Broad, lower than Wokes, even at home. And they got fed up with him. They got tired of him in the setup. And he went to India. He had some off-field issues. He had some personal issues. He was falling in love with somebody else, basically. And it became a bit of a big story over here. And they had a podcast, him and his new girl, which was probably ill-advised, definitely ill-advised. He also had a column that I was ghosting, by the way, in 2023 that got him into a bit of shit. So there's blood on my hands as well, folks. And anyway, they said enough. They'd had enough of him. Early 2024, number 5th ranked test bowler in the world. You saw that Anderson and Broad were on their way out. They had actually gone, one of them at least by that point. And you had probably the best new ball bowler after those two in the game sitting on the bench, or cast out even. They've brought him back now, and it's bittersweet from an English point of view because you saw the pitches in Australia. You saw how well, your medium fast bowlers went, brilliant at what they do, obviously. But we had our own one, and he wasn't playing. He was actually in Australia anyway. He was playing, he was netting with NSW. So it's frustrating that they didn't reach this moment, this impasse a little bit earlier, because he'd have been useful for England, I think, in the winter. But I'm glad that they finally got there. And he's only 32. He's fitter than he's been in a while. He's now captain of Sussex. I actually covered the Surrey-Sussex game, and he was really good on the field. He's misunderstood as a kind of a lunk-headed seamer, but he's a smart bloke, and he's got a very good cricket brain. And if he can stay fit, then he has to be back in that team. So I'm quite pleased that he's been recalled. But again, just as like the team itself is on a knife edge, he is on a knife edge. If he comes in and bowls an innocuous couple of spells with a new ball and then comes back and he's a bit down on pace, then the speed gun's going to be screaming at him and everyone will be piling in again. And that's the nature of it. People, they want to like this team, but they don't quite know how to at the moment. and so Robinson comes into it, and it could be that it blows up in his face quickly, or it could be that he fulfills the role that he should have been doing for the last 3 or 4 years, which is England's best new ball bowler. See.
Zach Crawley is the ceremonial sacrifice from Australia. And in his place, Emilio Gay, 6'3", 190 centimetres, plays at Durham, averages 40-odd, 13 first-class tons, 1850s.
So.
Well, a couple of trigger movements, back then forward, walks across, and naturally...
Already put a big line for him, have you? Yeah, now.
No, it's a bit of Alistair Cook about it. Like, he's tall, left-handed, went to the same school. Ostensibly a good time to come into the side, but then there's a Jacob Bethel issue. I don't know if he's playing, but if Asa Tribe comes in, which is a maybe as well, so there's a lot of hypotheticals in here, but does that become a bat-off? I think I heard you guys talking about this.
Yeah, so Bethel looks like he is fit, so he'll come in at 3, and that's great for English cricket. You know, he's not played he's played 1 home test match, batted 6. He'll be in at 3. It looks like he's fit after the IPL. And Emilio Gay will open. And we have a reserve player called James Rue, who scores lots of runs for Somerset. And he would have played at 3 if Bethel hadn't made it. And then it would have been a bat-off between Emilio Gay and James Rue. Both on debut would have been. But as it is, Bethel is in. So Gay gets the nod first up. And he does have a big first trigger movement, Sam. You're right. He does tend to plant his front foot on and around off stump. And he's left-hander, so he has to maybe play around his front pad a little bit. But, you know, Alistair Cook, who, as you say, Emilio Gay went to Alistair Cook's school. Alistair Cook had a similar kind of first movement as well, and it worked out okay for him. No doubt the Kiwi quicks are going to be looking to try and, you know, hit his ankle and scuttle one through. But he's made good runs. He makes quite a lot of noughts and a lot of really good hundreds. And when he makes hundreds, you want to watch it. Like grey nicks, everything's in the right place, sweatband, collar. He walks right, you know, between the overs. Doesn't over glove punch, but his glove punch adjacent. He stands. The non-strikers, he stands right, you know, but he leans on his bat, but it's all just perfectly in sync.
Yeah, shapes. It's a shapes thing.
It's the shapes, Samuel. It's the shapes, and so he has all of that. So I'd give him 10 Test matches, and whether he scores any runs is almost secondary to me, really, because he looks lovely. He's got a fabulous name, and I just want to see Emilio Gay up top for England. It just has a lovely ring to it, really. And him and Bethel, in all seriousness, him and Bethel, if they get going, then it's going to be more fun than watching your 2 and 3. Let's put it that way. And we don't often say that.
If they were playing in your front garden, you'd close the blinds, as a friend of mine once said.
So, but as for Zach Crawley, look, you know, there's a scintilla of sympathy for him. It was obviously his time. He had to go. He was the one who was going to have to fall, and he remains a sort of an aching, unresolved enigma to all of us. Really, that 80-odd he made at Adelaide. 3rd Test remains one of the purest knocks I've ever seen, and in amongst it, there's all the rest of it, you know. But I do feel sorry for him, you know, and it was an open secret that he was going to go, and he's been back at Kent. He's not made a 50 in 4 or 5 6 championship games. Not made a 50, and it must have been so hard for the kid, you know. And I do feel sorry for him. On a certain level, he was the one who was the most faithful to the whole show, to the whole theory, He carried it out to the letter, and ultimately he's the one who's had to fall. But again, it was the right decision.
Last one from Mayfield, but I understand that Smith and Stokes are going to swap 6 and 7. Is Stokes' batting a watch, as we would say in AFL parlance?
Yeah, so I think he did confirm that, McCullum, or broadly confirm that on Friday afternoon. I quite like it, actually. There's been a few punters calling for it in England. I I think for Smith in particular, it's good. So I interviewed Smith actually last month, and he's a wicketkeeper. He's a reluctant wicketkeeper, and I said to him, and doesn't shout the odds. He's a lovely lad actually, quite self-effacing. I think Australia, the experience hit him relatively hard actually, and he got himself into a few technical tangles and so on. But I said to him about the keeping, and he said, "I'm not a keeper." He literally said, "Wicket-keeping has opened avenues for me and opened doors for me, but I'm a top-order batsman." That's how he sees himself. And he bats 3 for Surrey at the moment. He's batted 4 in the past for Surrey. And I think long-term, that's where they see him playing for England. But at the moment, of course, he has the gloves. But they want him to, I think, to gravitate more to being a batter in the long run. And so given a bit more responsibility at 6. And it might free Stokes up as well to have a bit of fun at number 7 as well. You know, he plays his best when he just throws the pressures of the job off his shoulders and just pins his ears back and has a good old-fashioned whack. And maybe he can do that a bit more at number 7. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he goes. He's bowling. He opened the bowling for Durham. Stokes did a couple of weeks back and had a bad injury. Got hit in the face in the pre-season nets and all of that. But now he's back and bowling fast. He is our key bowler. He is the key bowler in the team. He ties the room together if he plays. And if he bowls and bowls well, and he's fit rather, as he did against India last year when he was England's best bowler, he remains that even in the latter years of his career, you know. And a fit Stokes, a good Stokes, and also, but just in brackets, he's psychopathically desperate to carry on, and I think that was a question after the Ashes, but he's probably more switched onto it now than he has been at any other point, and I think it kind of consumes him. What's to come over the next year and a bit. All roads lead to next summer. That they really do. There are Ashes series and then there are Ashes series, and the one next year, considering how long it's been since Australia won over here, considering how long it's been since England beat Australia, it all leads to that date with destiny and all the rest.
It sounds like you're saying that if England somehow jag the Ashes next year, every single thing will be justified. That's what we call last goal wins.
1,000%, Sam. 1,000%.
Phil, just to finish off, your name turned up in a UK Telegraph article I read recently. It says reform says will save village cricket from the health and safety police. Hang on, can I just let me just get a couple of pars here. Hang on, I know that you will clear this up. Reform UK has pledged to save village cricket pitches from closure over health and safety concerns. The party has promised to introduce legislation to create protected playing fields if it wins the next general election following a spate of closures across England. Danbury Memorial Field in Essex was closed last year after a member of the public was hit on the leg with a cricket ball in a nearby car park, forcing 3 local clubs to find new grounds. Like, someone was hit in the leg with a cricket ball and 3 clubs have to shut down. Now, what the hell is going on?
Welcome to England, mate. So, first of all, I gave that interview to the BBC, and the Telegraph, bless them, took my quotes, didn't attribute them, and then lined me up alongside Robert Jenrick, who's a kind of like quasi neo-fascist who's probably going to be the next deputy prime minister for reform. Me being a kind of old lily-livered lefty, everyone had a lovely old time of it to see my name in this country. So I contacted the Telegraph and I said, look, I respect the grift, but, I gave that interview to the BBC and that needs to be acknowledged. And I got an email back and said, oh, yeah, sorry, Phil, blah, blah, we'll change that. But it seems like they haven't. Seems like they haven't put in.
No, I did. I saw it today. It did say speaking to the BBC.
Okay, good.
Okay, fine. I just left that out of the start of this question because it would wind you up more.
Yeah, gotcha. Gotcha. Thank you. Glad I can put it straight on an Australian podcast. But yeah, so someone got it in the leg and went, ow. And then 3 cricket teams and 200 years of history got basically put in the bin.
No.
But then the ECB stepped in and sorted it out. Bless them. They a little kind of small grant to the area. Now they've got like a protective net up, and a hybrid pitch, and now they can carry on playing in this village in Essex. So all's well that ends well. Campaigning journalism, I think that's what they call it. I've never felt so important in all my life than in a village in Danbury, just outside Chelmsford. Go, yeah. So it's all happening over here, boys. It's all happening.
And what are your thoughts on immigration, Phil?
Open the safe routes.
Rude. You are a busy man. You are an important man, Phil, because you've got a meeting to go to. So we'll let you go. But thanks so much for this
charity. With a homelessness charity.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I have to tell everybody that. No, that's good. It's good. Mate, always love talking to you, Phil. Thanks so much for the insights. It's good. First test.
Okay, a bit of news here from TGC Towers.
It's not a crime to have a few glasses of wine.
A glass or two.
And a big bulbous glass.
It's not a crime.
I am stuffed.
It's not a crime to have a few glasses of wine on the day of the Lord's resurrection. It's not a crime.
A nice long glass of a Cab Sav.
It's not a crime.
And a big bulbous glass. It's still a great drop, I'm telling you.
It's not a crime.
Beer's disappearing at a concerning pace.
It's not a crime on the day of the Lord's resurrection.
It's fine wine. It's excellent wine. We've laughed over a glass or two. Rosés and reds.
Beer's disappearing. That nice long glass of a Cab Sav. That should be your drop of choice.
On the day of the Lord's resurrection.
Maybe one or two wines with the great man himself.
It's not a crime on the day of the Lord's resurrection.
No pint of milk for you and your sad little penis.
Thank you very much to Phil Walker and before him, Mitchell Santner. All right, Australia are playing against Pakistan, which is news to me. Let's have a look at Australia's next 2.5 years. Just real quick. So it's, I'm talking about tests mostly speaking, but Bangladesh in Darwin and Mackay in August. South Africa for 3 tests later this year in October. That's before England actually go to South Africa as well for the New Year's tests. 4 tests against New Zealand at home this year for the Aussies, then 5 tests in India in late January, February, and then March. They got the 150th test against England in March with using the pink ball. Unless it's dark, then you use the red ball. They got the World Test Championship final in June. The Ashes in England, of course, this time next year. That's capping that's 20 tests in about a year. The ODI World Cup is in South Africa in September, October. The Australian summer then, I presume, will be either Pakistan, Sri Lanka, West Indies, South Africa, an amalgamation of 2 of those teams, I would have thought. In 2028, Australia host the World Cup with New Zealand, the T20 World Cup in New Zealand, and then India would be due out for 5 tests in the Australian summer of 28-29. That's quite a long snapshot. It's 2.5 years, but the point is they've got fucking heaps on. There is heaps on. And it's all starting for Australia near enough now. And the team that Australia was sent to Pakistan is not a strong one, but they certainly are playing. They certainly are playing ODI cricket, which is a format that still exists. And the second one is tonight, as we're recording this. It's on Tuesday afternoon as we're recording this. But the first one, Pakistan won the first ODI in Rawalpindi by 5 wickets. They chased down Australia's 200 pretty easily. In fact, very easily. Arafat Minhas on debut, the 19-year-old, 5 for 32. Left arm finger spinner. Too good for Australia, which I feel like I've seen before. The thing that I enjoyed the most watching this, I was Saturday night, Pezza. I was feeding my child I was feeding my child food through bloodshot eyes, and I was just enjoying Greg Blewett doing mid-over ad reads for Pakistan companies. That's how they do it. That's how Pakistan do it over there. So they'll just be talking about the cricket, and then Greg Blewett will say, this company, Pakistan's number one energy source for solar or whatever. And then they go back to talking about the field setting. And it's quite jarring, but it happens every 2 overs, I think it is. And they've got like little stands like set up around the ground. They show that company, and then Greg Blewett throws to it. It was Greg Blewett for the whole thing that I was watching. I felt like it was about an hour. So fair fucks to Bluey. But that was something I enjoyed. Ollie Peake on debut. He beats Ponting for the youngest ODI debutant for Australia. So I guess that's something for the eyes. No runs, but it's just something for the eyes. Something was for the eyes, President. Something for the brain. Matt Renshaw, to me, looks like he's figured out a game plan of how he wants to bat in international cricket. He was near enough Australia's best player in the T20 World Cup. Wouldn't say it was particularly hard or high bar for that, but he scored 60 in this innings. And I honestly don't know why Cameron Green is playing for Australia at the moment. That's how I feel. And I know there's been some talk about Cam Green's not going to open the batting in test matches now for some reason. I could not be more of a believer in Cam Green's ability, and he will come good. And I also think at the same time that he needs to stop playing for Australia for a period of time. There are issues with that in that, like when Green and Marnus, for instance, go back to Shield cricket, they are 5 or 6 times better than everyone else. That is an issue, that there is a lack of depth, it seems like, coming through. Ollie Peake plays this game. I don't think Ollie's quite ready for this level. I'm excited to see him, and I think he'll figure it out eventually. He's just a young guy, and he's going to find his feet here eventually. But I'm looking at Matt Renshaw, and I think that he should be playing for Australia ahead of Cameron Green in the test side. That's what I think.
Okay. Just a bit to work through for that.
Yeah. Back to Bluey.
Yeah, that's right. So it's how long? 2.5 years. Bangladesh and Darwin. No, I mean, why is it that the weirdest thing to say about Australia-Pakistan is something like, I hope they level the series tonight?
Because
do you reckon there's anybody
in June?
Do you think there's anybody out there going like, just we just need to levels up? You know, it's just the funny shapes and contortions of bilateral twos in Pakistan. Again, you know, off the back of 45 years of the IPL, I still have affection for it. Like, these grounds now are just where Australia goes to get pumped in white ball cricket by Pakistan, who are otherwise sold to us as a state that is struggling in and of itself and gets beaten by Bangladesh in Test cricket 4 times in a row. But we go there, someone's on debut, just ragging at deluxe, and Marnus is on his crease, and Greeny's looking nervous, and and Matt Renshaw is now has comparisons with Matthew Hayden, as he should. And a little lip tickler there too that I'm enjoying. That's where I'm going from.
Lip.
Yeah. Woo. So
why do I feel like when we play Pakistan, there's 8 guys I've never seen before and will never see again?
Yeah. And what I want out of this, the reason that we know that there's some ill health to these bilateral twos, Australia-Pakistan level the series stuff, is that the funniest thing to come out of Australia and Pakistan at the moment has been Adam Zampa's reels, where he's doing day in the life content, voiced by Nathan Ellis, and nobody has yet come out and said that that's no longer funny because Australia lost the first game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's where there should be alarm bells at Jollymont. You know, where are the thunderous think pieces saying that Australian players are too busy putting together these supposedly comedic reels when there's actually bilateral twos games to win with ads read by Bluey.
I'm not laughing.
I'm not laughing either. So I don't know. Every cricket, all cricket that is in the IPL looks quite good at the moment, and I've got time for it. You know, and that's just the result of 74 games of the IPL, night after night, every ball. And
Zampa didn't play this game.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't.
Well, he's obviously done a heartstring.
Okay, well, I don't know why he didn't play, but it's good. Tanvir gets a start. Yeah. That's a shape. The lights seem dimmer in Pakistan. It's all good though. Marnus got a wicket bowling leggies. That annoys everybody.
Yeah.
Any wicket he gets is annoying.
Yeah. Bit of a celeb appeal as well.
Was it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Inglis is skipper. I'll bat 3. He says good. I don't know that's where he bats, but I guess it was summed up by this headline. Ian Healy questions Australian batters' impatient approach to spin after Pakistan defeat.
Finally.
And I'm thank fuck Heels is out there. No one's facing enough balls in 50-over cricket, Heelzo says. They're too impatient. They're trying to hit too many boundaries, and they're stuck at the crease. T20 cricket is stand and deliver. We need some dancing feet. These Pakistani spinners, you need to approach them. You need to get at them and not be scared of missing one. Dan Cherney writes the article, says, Healy acknowledged that he had not mastered the art during his career, but he pointed to one-day icon Dean Jones as a player who had tamed opposition spinners by using his feet. I couldn't do this. What I'm saying, I couldn't do, Healy says. Now, I think that applies to all of us. If that's the standard, you have to be able to do it yourself to speak, then kill every podcast. And a lot of people would agree with that. Yeah, I mean, Heelzo's saying you got to. I mean, essentially, Heelzo's saying you got to get to it on the full. It's why does it take us so long to learn this about spin bowling?
Yeah.
Okay, our elders who have dominated the game, they've completed the game. Now, Healy has admitted that he couldn't do this, but they've completed the game. They tell us time and again, when you are in South Asia, simply get to it on the full.
Yep.
Dance down the crease, just like Dean Jones did, just like Mark Ward did. Then you will have no problem. Why can't these guys actually listen to their elders?
Just like Matt Short, who was stumped in this game for 55.
I'd like to see Liam Scott get a go. Always in the runs and the wickets. See what it looks like. That's Australia Pakistan. I did note that Dan Bredig pumped up the series.
Yep.
Very well, and he did do that. But he also told a story about a captain's report produced by Alan Border in a Test match in 1988, where he gave the umpire 0 out of 10. And that's one thing we missed from the game. You know, like what with our DRS, etc.
Yeah.
We can't blame penguins for losses in Pakistan or you know what I mean? Where's the penguin blaming opportunities?
There's a great YouTube watch, like old bias umpires from all countries. Yeah. Like that's a fun watch.
So we miss these things. We miss these anachronisms. No. Careful what you wish for with your purity and your money and your accuracy.
Sure.
You know, I want stories of AB, Cole Egar saying we're walking out of this test match mid.
Yeah.
Game. And the umpire was
the umpire's mid.
I think he said this umpire's mid.
Well, I enjoyed Mike Hesson, who's the coach of Pakistan. He's been tweeting the past 24 hours. He put a tweet out referencing complaints that Pakistan pitches are not like the ones they'll face in South Africa next year for the ODI World Cup. And I think that's another huge win for guys who love their coaches online or just talking.
Yep.
And players love that as well. They love when the coach just sort of out there a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cricket coach.
Yeah. Not quite defined yet as an industry, is it? Like what the cricket coach is, I have to say.
No.
The people are trying, and that's
like
good.
with English football, with like the mystique of the manager. You know, like it's a very English football thing. Like the manager is like all mighty and powerful.
Yeah,
not quite the same.
The
in cricket.
cult of the manager.
The cult of the manager.
I do feel McCullum. We talked about this with Phil, obviously, but like he brought a philosophy. You have to adopt the philosophy. It takes a few years to play the system, to play the formation,
and that's worked. It's worked.
Well, yeah. Australia do have batting issues, and Bredig again in the age. Shout out Bredig.
What we know what he's like.
See,
what did he make up this time? Another fiction piece from Bredig, was it?
It was. That was strong from Cummo, I've got to say.
Yeah.
Well, he says he alleges Bredig.
Yeah, and his little fantasy here. Yeah, what does he make
that
up this
Australian
time?
cricket will hold a summit to question if the nursery for the Test team has become too difficult for batters, too friendly for seamers, and too grassy for spinners. And the quote is, we want to make sure we're not just playing one style of cricket all the time. So I think the Shield coaches and a couple of other insiders are getting together to go like any danger of anyone being able to score a run in Shield cricket, and everybody who looks at the results understanding. I think McDonald essentially says, like mid-30s is the new 50 of averages.
Just because the players aren't as good as they used to be.
I know. Was there somebody there saying, again, are batters working hard? Batsmen, I should say.
Unlike in every single other sport where players have got better throughout the years, like cricketers, especially in Australia, have got worse.
Yeah, that's video games. Now, within it is also a note, alleged or otherwise, that groundsmen, curators, as we call them, the groundsmen will also be getting together to talk about the pitches. Now, all I'm saying is this get-together better be happening in a shed.
Yeah.
And it better be happening with stubbies, dirty couches, and centerfold women in lockers.
Yes.
Because that is my understanding of the kind of the climes that groundsmen kind of inhabit.
Whilst watching Little People box.
And betting on it. Yeah. Did you ever have that at your club? Like it was like if you had to go to the groundsman's shed and you were like, you're walking over there like, what the fuck am I about to see here? You know what I mean? Because he lives in there.
No, but I saw it at the Test match, and so did you. Not in Australia.
Yeah, we had to go through some bushes to get into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we basically walked in there and there was 8 blokes, and a whole bunch of broadsheets and transistor radios, and we were betting on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's my memory of it. I don't know if that was
boxing
right.
on the screen.
Boxing, yeah. And lingerie football, I think. Anyway.
Got to go back.
Yeah. So anyway, these are good signs. People are getting together and going, any danger of some runs.
Community.
Now,
That's community. That's great.
I do think we're about to go into the flat decks era. I think Australian cricket, just for a little bit of stability with a lot of change, they just need to see more blokes with a 4 in front of the average.
Yep.
It's an opiate that the nation requires. Cummins has had his way. He's called out the journos. He's burnt all the journos because everyone's making things up. Didn't notice there was no reply to that, but or riposte, but. His time's coming to an end. The bowler's era is coming to an end. And thank you for the cartel and all that work.
Thanks.
But
Thanks for the memories.
Let's see some runs now.
I can see One Nation comes in, decks flatten out. Back to the good old days.
You think it might just tip the other way massively?
I think
we're going to averaging 60, 70.
Yeah.
With Pauline Hanson just says, let's flatten these.
Yeah. And I can buy a house.
Yeah.
I can negatively gear a house and the decks are flat.
Negative gearing, eh?
Well, speaking of privatisation. Okay, so last time we sat down and discussed what's happening more broadly in Australian cricket. When would that have been? I guess before the World Cup. Yeah, I guess I had a holiday for a period of time during the World Cup, so I missed the end. Thanks to Alex for stepping in. But I suppose so much has happened to the conversation for Australian privatisation, and why wouldn't it happen now when no one's paying attention? But I suppose a bit of good news for Australian cricket fans. The BBL Open is going to be in Chennai. People excited by that. But Matt, I mean, are you in a good position to describe what has happened and where we're at with the privatisation conversation in Australia?
Well, basically, Chennai is cricket's Vegas. I mean, that's the first thing to say.
Right.
I mean, Cricket Australia's taken a leaf out of Landy's book and said, where's our Vegas?
Yeah.
And that's Chepic.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Yeah, I mean, I can't really recall where the privatisation conversation was up to, but, and it's very, it's so, not so much mired, but it feels like we're in a phase right now where a lot of the language around whether what Australia or Australian cricket chooses to do is mired in language like MOUs and central contracts and hybrid models and assessing the federated governance system of Australian cricket. And I just don't think much of this language is really cutting through to the public who I sense have been quite sidelined from this question that's a little bit deeper, which is what road should Australian cricket take to secure its future, in a very, very volatile, fast-changing environment. And it's a question that's eliciting a lot of emotion from Aussie fans who, can see that the game is being steamrolled by largely Indian capital, but private capital, which funnels its way through to T20 cricket. And Australia does not have a heartfelt relationship with this format. You can understand why so many members of the public do not wish to see a summer that puts T20 cricket front and centre, irrespective of what the teams look like and how good the players are. I think when you boil it right down, I think a lot of fans want to still see the core tenets of Australian summer retained. They're waking up to articles saying threats of players leaving the Australian system, plying their T20 trade in different tournaments, and it all seems quite depressing, for all of the language around proactive choice and stuff. I do think Australian cricket is, like every other country in the world, by the way, is subject, has been slightly cornered by the aims and visions of Indian cricket, which is to create, 4 major T20 tournaments and splicing international cricket around it. And the question facing Australian cricket is, do we go to own one of those majors and have some kind of seat at the table, place in the tent, whatever, and potentially some kind of control of our summer and Australian cricketers playing in Australia when Australians are watching? Or do we reject the entire vision where we will be potentially giving up control of our players and our cricket, etc., and run whatever is left over, which, some would say risks the kind of farmers' leagueification of Australian cricket. That's what's, that's probably a very glib way of outlining what's going on. I suppose my perspective is that it feels a little jargony for people who love Australian cricket in the summer. And yeah, for what it's worth, I still think the key challenge for Australian cricket is like, how do you create a banging domestic T20 competition with great players, with your best Australian players, including the test players, playing in it, and have a thriving test match calendar in the summer? If you can solve that, that is a great way forward. But the route to get there seems awfully complicated right now. And, the states and Cricket Australia, I think, are working in as best faith as possible. It hasn't come to any blue yet, but it is very dynamic and ongoing. And right now, for those who aren't fully, for those who are watching footy or whatever else, about half the states are keen to privatise. Some have partners in mind; they already know who they want, and some don't. It's largely led by the opposition. Is largely led by New South Wales. Queensland aren't against privatisation, but they're against the model that's been presented by Cricket Australia. South Australia have said they'd like to see how it works first. So again, not against privatisation, but have reservations about how this all works. So we're just what we're seeing is a game that where states are making the calls and they're doing so in the best interest of their state, but also I think in their own individual views about Australian cricket.
I think we've been very consistent, you and I, talking about this, in that it is very hard to imagine how if I don't think the idea of like privatization has been completely rejected. I don't think that's sort of on the table anymore. But it's very hard to imagine how the game grows and even exists in Australia without being complete pariah, unless you join the Indian juggernaut. There are some American privatization there as well, but as you said, it's for the most part it's Indian privatization, and joining up how they want to connect to the calendar, being part of that. And I think that what is true is that like what's happening, Australia's probably a couple of years behind English cricket in this regard because they've already gone through some of this stuff the last couple of years. But it really is a 7 stages of grieving. Like there is pain ahead for the cricket fan because Australians don't like T20s. Some people like them, some people like them, but also a lot of people like going to the test matches and they like the rhythm and the cadence of cricket in their summer, revolve around the summer holidays, all your memories and stuff as a kid and family and all those great things. And that's going to change. And I think what is true is I think that there'll be a younger generation that won't have the same connection to the things that we grew up with, who will like T20 cricket. That seems to be the way in India as well. A lot of people love Test cricket in India. Don't be wrong about that. But there seems to be more people that have a rule that they're clamouring for T20 cricket, and there's going to be more of it. It's pretty tough to imagine when we've just had essentially 4 or 5, probably 5 months of T20 cricket all into one place, to be fair. And thinking like, if we could have like sort of 11 months of this and maybe a couple of international windows, a few weeks here, just like there is in the football calendar, that's going to be a good thing. I think I look at like the BBL Open and moving to Chennai. I completely get why that's happening. I think that fucking sucks for people that like cricket in Australia. That's how I feel about it. Like, in what world is that a win for if your team goes and plays there? You got no benefit to that. I mean, how much cricket needs to be taken away from Australian fans to make the game grow here in Australia? Do you know what I mean? Like but I'm going through the 7 stages of grieving with it as well. I'm also resigned to this. I think a lot of people had some pretty emotional reaction to our conversation with Todd Greenberg. I think you and I are probably further down the line with the realities and the acceptance that this is what has to happen for the game to not just be a complete pariah to the rest of the world. I don't see how the BBL doesn't become a farmers league unless you join this juggernaut.
Well, maybe that's okay. I mean, maybe people would prefer. I think a lot of people actually quite enjoy the BBL having the place that it does in Australian summers, partly because because T20 cricket has a place of, late night couch slop. It's not cricket that matters at a heartfelt level. It's an introduction to the game. It's a bit of fun. It's red v green. It's a mace, and funny camera angles and things like that. And so maybe people don't want to see the BBL, really bang, and maybe they're happy to see it as a, breeding ground for Australian cricketers as long as the tests stay okay, but. As it stands, there's so much capital coming into the game from India, and the aim and vision is to connect up the calendar with IPL-esque franchises that if you decide to just hang on to the BBL as it is and not let that private capital come in, players won't leave right now, but they eventually will, because players are completely entitled to pursue the best financial outcomes for them and their families, just as everybody else in life is, and particularly players who have, and there's only a small handful of players to whom this applies, but who can create, generational wealth. I mean, it is fair to say, without being specific in any way, and I think there's a broad enough section of players this would apply to, that T20 cricket is not their favourite format either, but the riches they're too big to ignore, right? And that's just part of what's going on here. But as you say, the Farmers Leagueification of the BBL is a real prospect, without giving it the love and care and capital that it needs to compete with the Indian juggernaut. Now, opponents to privatisation are saying, we can build that capital, we can do this. So far the alternatives have seemed probably more theoretical than having huge meat on the bones. But similarly, opponents would say that the model presented for privatisation is the same. I've heard the phrase, let's renovate the house before we sell it. A lot of people want to see how the 100 works first. What does private capital look like inside Australia? What would you lose? Do you lose control of your cricket program? Do you lose control of the name? Almost certainly yes, in most, at least in the IPL circumstances. So I think there are reasonable minds may differ, at this point in time. But as you say as well, Australia is Australia's the last domino to fall here. Everyone else is gone. Yeah.
The BBL is already not much more than a Farmers League, to be honest. It's already I've said this before, 4th, 5th or 6th best T20 tournament. It's sort of, and I think that for the most part that Australians are kind of okay with that, in where it sits in the summer, as you say, sort of speaks to our relationship with T20 cricket anyway. My belief is in 30 years' time, the BBL probably could be one of the biggest tournaments in the world. It's never going to be bigger than the IPL. Nothing is. But, I guess to that end, you also get some interesting promotional material, which I think the entire world, certainly people listening to this, would have seen in terms of the Manchester Super Giants AI slop video. Where every single thing is wrong. And I don't know how you watch that and think this is good. How can you not watch that and feel sad about where the game that you love is going? I know it's silly because it's just an advertisement for one team in one small part of England.
Not. It has meaning beyond that.
It's beyond that. It's even it's what owners are willing to put out. And at the end of the day, fish rots from the head. But it's the fact that, imagine if let's say an Australian private owner had bought an Indian side and was so disconnected from what the people representing that city were about, just joining Manchester City and Manchester United, just because the jersey's blue and red, and
because if there's one thing Mancunians want, is just that unification between City and United. Finally a cricket team to represent the unity that I secretly wish for.
It's insulting. It's insulting. It's almost like it's not even funny how bad it is. It actually makes you angry.
Well, let's firstly go through some of the highlights of this AI slop that everybody's really talking about. Some cricketers are in the coloured clothing, some are in whites. Aidan Markram delivers a ball away from the batter who's in whites, and he's not holding a ball. Aidan Markram's bowling as well, speed. He's bowling pace. He also appears to take a flying catch as a wicketkeeper in short sleeves, a batting helmet and batting gloves. midair. That was an interesting one as well.
It's actually his trademark logo, like the Jordan dunk.
Yeah. But I mean, it's really, I think it bears some kind of analysis around the like efforts that like anchor brands, like in this case, you know, it's Sanjeev Goenka's group, RPSG, yeah. You know, the efforts they'll go to communicate with their, you know, with their satellite cities. You know, this is literally just like, this is obviously a bad AI prompt that was just like, yeah, just get the colours going and hear the players and just chuck it in there and let's just see what we can do. Someone somewhere is going to claim that like this was deliberate and look how much we've got people talking about it or whatever. But everything that people are saying is like, this fucking sucks, and just picking up an idea and dropping it into another place never works, you know? So it's, I think there's a sense of foreboding, you know, about what like lifting a franchise there and dropping it into like an English city might actually mean, and what it might mean for everybody else as well. I don't think it's a good moment at all. And that's why I, after that, went back to a clip of a Nine's Wide World of Sports panel show with Nico Hines asking Mark Taylor about the BBL in Chennai. That's my safe space. You know, Nico Hines saying to Tubby, you know, what do you think about the BBL in Chennai? And Tubby's like, it's on when the tests are on. I don't know. I don't like it.
In between Ariane Titmus.
Exactly.
That makes you feel safe.
To paraphrase, they're the two options you've got. You know, I did a piece for Cricket Hotel today, sign up, but also noting, you know, one of the great symbols of like when Australian cricket was good is, you know, flint-eyed baggy green warriors like Steve Waugh, who also posted recently about you getting your digital fire starter badge for Amsterdam, which he part owns, and he's sitting underneath a Suresh Raina and MS Dhoni framed picture, you know, which is like, that's gold. That's how you do it on Insta. But so yeah, you know, there's a bit of capital out there for people. There's a bit of money, but like, what happens for the fan when the rubber hits the road on what these teams look like? That's the challenge for Cricket Australia when it comes to actually explaining to people why this is good. I think there is an argument there, by the way. The argument has to be, here's how we get Pat Cummins bowling to Travis Head in a fucking blockbuster T20 game. Also, they're playing tests this summer and they're fucking good test matches. I mean, it's easier said than done, but you know, there's heaps of money out there. They're competing for the best cricketers. Cricket Australia needs to access some of that money, but they need to do it in a way that protects the tenets of Australian summers, right? And I do think I do think there's a way forward. I think the states know that as well, but they want to know a little bit more about how all of this works because it's happening awfully quickly.
All right. AskTGC?
Sure.
Send in your questions to the main pod. You can go to gradecricketer.com and there is a brand new Ask TGC tab at the top of that page. Gradecricketer.com, Ask TGC tab at the top of the page to get in your response. But in the meantime, got a couple of questions here. Aditya wrote in, Pezza. It says, where do I hide now that a 15-year-old has secured his bloodline whilst I still can't get a stable job?
I'll check out Gideon's article at crickethotel.com.
Oh, certainly makes you think, yeah. I saw you actually doing things to you that make you feel, is he belittling you as a man because he's doing these things that you dreamed of at the age where you thought it was possible still? You know what I mean? Like when you're 15, you're just about hanging on to your dreams.
Well, I mean, without doubt. I mean, every cricketer does that to us, right? If you're a grade cricketer with dreams of making, you didn't. Anyone who makes money from cricket has shamed you and belittled you, but Surivanshi takes it a step forward. He shames us all. Yeah. Everybody is shamed. I mean, if you're able to break every single record, it seems, at age 15.
Have you just put in Soccer AM great age?
Oh, that's done me. I didn't know that was in there, but that's great. Yeah. Fantastic.
Hey, Chuck's back.
Well done, Chucky.
Now pack up your things.
He shamed us all, really, for Vaibhav Surivanshi.
Toby wrote in and says, what's happening with Alf Stewart on Home and Away? We get it the month after you. That's that's
not in the diner. Just don't do it in the diner.
Jamie wrote in, thoughts on 100 teams getting rid of Chris Packett sponsors. No McCoys equal no good. See? People got lineage.
Careful what you wish for with this stuff. You know what I mean? Maybe there'll be a time one day where we miss the AI slop.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll become accustomed to it because there was a lot of negative chat about the crisp packets and the soft drink teams.
Yep.
And now, you know, we're losing all of that and it's let's combine Manchester City and Manchester United. You know, I want chips. I want my crisps back.
Yeah. They should have like a Liverpool and Manchester team.
Yeah. That's what,
If I buy, Owen wrote in, if I buy all new kit, will this help me close the gap between myself and Vibav? Yeah, I mean, I think like if you're in the UK and you're, I suppose by this point, you're sort of midway-ish through your season, it's still a good time to buy kit. You know, I think if you're in Australia right now, if you're, you know, in your off season, I don't think now's the time to be buying your fresh kit. It's too far away from the actual season starting, too far away from like your winter nets and like your Julys and your Augusts. But that is one of the great things about starting a season is the opportunity to waste money on kit that will not service you in any way. It's one of the great, I think like golf and cricket have that in common. You know, kit is just one of the joys of the sport. And I'm being serious about that.
I still remember buying a $900 Gray Nichols bat when I was playing the best cricket that I'd played, and I largely bought it because the colour of the grip matched my eyes. It was one of the worst bats I've ever had in my life. It was such a bad bat. And
Really?
yeah, I understand what everybody's thinking. You can always change the colour of a grip on anher bat. I get that.
You can change the colour of your eyes as well.
I was dumb.
Get contacts.
Well, that's true. I wouldn't want to do that, but with these, but
I saw plenty of damage.
One little, yeah, it's sun damage. That's for sure. I'm colorblind, but that look amazing. No, like yeah, that was a really bad. That was a really bad bat, but it looked great and it picked up well, and it was a terrible piece of wood. And I paid $900 at the age of 20 for it, and I also used to play. I also like my middle strap broke on my pad. Again, playing like, you know, decent enough level of cricket, and I just never fixed it. It's you look back at the age of 20 and go, what dumb shit was I doing?
Yeah, I know. Well, playing cricket.
Yeah, wasting money.
And Stoke Gifford CC says, when is Wasted Saturdays back so we can show off our competence again? Well, please do send them in via the DMs because Wasted Saturdays will be coming back for the Indeed English summer, not just the Northern Hemisphere summer. The English summer for King and Country. Yeah, send them in. Send in your Wasted Saturdays clips to the social DMs, or you can go to the website as well, greatcricketer.com, if that's how you want to do it.
First test run and done next week by the time we come back next week.
Okay, so plenty to talk about.
Yeah.
I guess we'll figure out what's happened. We'll be on the show figuring out what happened. And we'll
live.
Yeah, we're doing it live.
No, I'm watching. English cricket, 8 p.m. AEST.
It's perfect.
It's fucking
It's
perfect.
not quite as good as midnight to 4 a.m. in Australia for T20s, but mate.
I'm sorry to say these words, but it's like it's lilting crowd, the hush, the murmur of Lords. It's the contrast.
Childhood.
Oh my good Lord. Yeah. It was nice to talk to Mitch off air as well about like how cool, well, lots of things, but to be repeated, how cool Test match cricket is, and just the boys being at Lords, they're pumped, the Kiwis, but they keep it dry, they keep it, they play a tight game on air. Yeah. So, but
two beers.
Oh, absolutely.
Whoa, settle down. All right, thanks for joining us. Nice to be back here at TGC. We'll see you guys again next week. Goodbye.